It was one fine winter's day of the year 2002. I had been living and working in a ashram on the Oregon coast for maybe about 7 or 8 months at that time, something like that, and had been doing a wonderful, effortless mantra-based practice called the Ishaya's Ascension for about 9 or 10 months at that time. And that 9 or 10 months was wonderful. I wasn't starving spiritually for good experiences or encouragement to keep going on the path. Silence, love, bliss, synchronicity, these things were all percolating up at different times into my noticeable everyday life. And yet here on this day, something even a bit more extraordinary happened. As I was chopping a bunch of onions, as was pretty common for my work in those days, all of a sudden I realized that for an indeterminate amount of time, I had been immersed in some complete, vast, non-thing thing that I hadn't even had a thought, or if I did have thoughts, they were like little tiny leaves floating tens of feet up on the surface of a lake, and I was at the bottom. And when I noticed that, my consciousness seemed to be here, there, everywhere, nowhere, a flood of bliss, for lack of a better word, moved through my body, not simply my body, but through the entire town of Lincoln City, Oregon, it seemed, because my body, or my sense of the body, was no longer just confined to my physical body, but seemed to somehow be everywhere at once. This experience was wonderful in many ways, but one reason it was wonderful is that it gave me such a full and clear and distinct experience of silence itself that I was able to differentiate between that formless dimension of life and the world of name and forms that we were so accustomed to. And from that moment, I was, at some days more than others, I have to say, I was able to tune into that formless dimension and find it all over the place. And an interesting thing about tuning into that silent, formless space is that it's incredibly healing, mentally, physically, psychologically. There were issues that I thought I had been dogged with for years and years, and I never really thought I would necessarily get over, that would just seem to disappear. And why that is the case is a good question, and the answer, at least that I've come to for that question, is that if we were to give a form to the formless dimension of life, and if we put a name to the nameless, the form and name would be love. And so there's this powerful reservoir of love inside us all. And when we tap into that on a regular basis, it tends to permeate, tends to also enliven our experience. It tends to re-enchant life. That emptiness that is often spoken about transforms itself as if into a everythingness, into a fullness. And so a lot of my teaching work is, I should say, centered on helping people first connect to that formless dimension of life, but often at the same time of that, helping people to connect to that fullness aspect of it. And do this in a lot of ways, both through different mantra meditation techniques, as well as through seemingly basic, I have to say, practices of appreciation, gratitude, and love. And sometimes transmission, although I have to say I have no control over that whatsoever. That's something that just seems to happen when it wants to.